The chilling, disembodied whisper repeated my name, though the old tape recorder lay unplugged, its reels frozen. I knew then that the antique recorder, a gift from my late grandfather, was holding onto something profoundly evil, something meant to stay buried. And as I hesitantly touched its cold metal casing, a terrifying discovery was about to unravel, a discovery that would twist the very fabric of my sanity. The echoing footfalls in the empty hallway at 3 a.m., the inexplicable scent of decaying roses, and the chilling realization that the dead don't always stay dead would soon become my waking nightmares. Inheriting my grandfather's remote, dusty house was supposed to be a fresh start, a quiet escape from the city's relentless drone. Among the forgotten relics in the attic, tucked away in a trunk brimming with his wartime medals and faded photographs, I found a heavy black reel-to-reel tape recorder. It looked anachronistic, even for his generation, a relic from an era I barely recognized. I cleaned off the dust, fascinated by the intricate dials and aged metal. There was a single unlabeled reel of tape on the spindle. Curiosity, that persistent, dangerous impulse, nudged me. I found an old power cord in a drawer and plugged it in. The machine hummed to life with a rusty groan, and I pressed play. Static, then the faint, distorted sound of an argument, followed by a sudden, brutal scream. My blood ran cold. I immediately hit stop, my heart hammering against my ribs. This wasn't some old radio show. This sounded horrifyingly real. I yanked the plug, rationalizing it as a trick of the old electronics, a strange anomaly. For days, the recorder sat untouched, a silent, unsettling presence on the bedside table. But the house itself began to change. Footsteps shuffled upstairs when I was alone downstairs. Shadows danced past the corner of my vision, and a faint, cloying scent of decay, like old funeral flowers, began to permeate the air. I told myself it was the house settling, the scent of disuse. One restless night, I woke to the distinct sound of the tape recorder whirring. It wasn't plugged in. My breath hitched. A low, guttural voice, choked with what sounded like despair and rage, began to emanate from the machine. It wasn't an argument this time. It was a monologue, fragmented and chilling. I couldn't make out the words, but the malice was palpable. A live thing crawling into the quiet of my room. Panic seized me. I scrambled from bed, flicked on the lamp, and stared at the dark machine. The whirring stopped. The voice vanished. The reels were perfectly still. But then, as I watched in terror, a slow, agonizing creak emanated from the speaker, followed by a clear, icy whisper that finally spoke my name. A whisper that felt as though it originated from inside my own skull. It repeated my name again, louder this time, drawing me in. I felt an undeniable pull, like a marionette on invisible strings, towards the haunted device. I had to know what was on that tape against every shred of reason. I knelt before it, my hand trembling as I tentatively reached for the play button. The tape clicked, and the voice returned, no longer fragmented, but horrifyingly clear. "He buried me here, grandson. Your dear grandfather, he buried me alive." My world fractured. My grandfather, the kind, gentle man who taught me to fish and told me bedtime stories, had committed such an unspeakable act. What unspeakable secret had the soil beneath this very house been forced to keep quiet all these years? And what would happen if the recording revealed more than just a forgotten voice? The voice continued, detailing a gruesome account of betrayal and a desperate, claustrophobic struggle beneath the earth. It spoke of a shallow grave, of a secret passage in the old root cellar, of a hidden purpose, for the recorder itself a final confession, a desperate plea for justice from beyond the grave. The scent of decaying roses intensified, suffocating me, and the air around the recorder grew heavy, impossibly cold. As the voice finished its chilling narrative, a guttural groan filled the room, followed by that undeniable, sickening sound of dirt being disturbed. Coming from downstairs, my legs felt like concrete, but a primal instinct screamed at me to investigate. I grabbed an antique brass candlestick, its weight oddly comforting, and crept down the creaking stairs, each step a thunderclap in the suffocating silence. The cellar door, which had always been securely locked, now stood ajar, a sliver of inky blackness visible beyond. A foul, earthy stench poured out, mingling with the sickening sweetness. I peered inside. The old dirt floor was churned, Fresh earth piled unnaturally, but it wasn't just dirt. Visible against the dark soil, gleaming faintly in the moonlight streaming through the small, grimy window, was a single skeletal hand, its bony fingers reaching as if clawing for release. The tape recorder upstairs suddenly shrieked with a high-pitched, triumphant static, and the cellar door slammed shut behind me, plunging me into absolute darkness. I was in a tomb, not just for a long-dead victim, but for myself, trapped with the vengeful spirit my gentle grandfather had so cruelly entombed. The whispered words from the recorder echoed in the silence. Now a fresh body to join me,